Okay, it looks like we have reached the appointed hour. I'd like to welcome everybody and say good morning and like to call a meeting to order for the Rules Out of Cycle Committee meeting and ask Margot to please call a roll.
Good morning. I'm going to do a roll call for our May 14th, 2024 Rules Committee meeting. Committee Chair, Wes Seegers.
Here.
Committee Vice Chair, David Hoyle.
Here.
Committee Member Tommy Fomble. Committee Member Steve Wyndham.
Here.
Committee Member John Stone. Committee Member J.C. Cole.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd also like to comment if everybody is looking at their screen, this must be maybe the most well-attended Rules Committee meeting I think we've ever had. So thank everybody for participating. We do have a lot of interesting things to go over, and one that is actually not on the agenda that we'll bring up there towards the end concerning the age of some of our youth hunts. So to get us started, let's go ahead and let Christian Waters get going with inland fisheries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'll be presenting the 2025-26 annual cycle rule proposals. We have 10 from inland fisheries. The first 8 deal with public mountain trout waters, specifically Rule 10C-0205. The first one would reclassify the section of hatchery-supported trout waters on the Linville River within the U.S. Forest Service's Linville Gorge Wilderness Area in Burke County to wild trout waters. And this is because part of that is on the Blue Ridge Parkway property, and they have a recent change that prevents the stocking of flowing streams. And then in addition, the U.S. Forest Service property is very, very steep and very difficult to stock. So we're proposing just to change that to wild. The next proposal is clarification. We want to clarify that the delayed harvest trout water section of the Ararat River in Surry County is the portion of the river bordering the Ararat River Greenway downstream of the NC 103 bridge. And that's just to make sure it's not confused with the hatchery supported trout water section. So the next proposal will be a boundary modification, and we'll add trout waters. This will modify the upper boundary of hatchery-supported trout waters on the Ararat River in Surry County. And the new reach will be the portion of the river adjacent to the Ararat Greenway upstream of the NC 103 bridge. Our next set of trout proposals will be modifying boundaries that will remove trout waters. There are 3 of those. One will modify the upper boundary of hatchery-supported trout waters on the Hungry River. The second will modify the lower boundary of hatchery-supported trout waters on Big Rock Creek. And the third will modify the lower boundary of delayed harvest trout waters on the East Fork French Broad River. And these are due to posting against trespass. Our next set of proposals will remove waters from public mountain trout waters. There are 2 here. One will be remove the hatchery-supported trout water section on Henry Fork. The second will remove the hatchery-supported trout waters section on Little Rock Creek. And again, these are due to posting against trespass. Moving on to our other proposals, we have 2 additional ones. One for crappie, and this would be for Rule 10C-0306. We would establish a 8-inch minimum size limit and a 20 fish daily creel limit for crappie in Sharon Harris Reservoir. And we have seen reduced age classes in recent surveys, and this is something that anglers have requested for several years now. And then our final annual rule cycle proposal would be for mullet. This would apply to 10C-0422. This would reduce the daily creel limit for striped and white mullet from 200 to 100 fish in aggregate and establish a limit of no more than 400 fish total per boat. And this is to be consistent with Marine Fisheries Action. Striped mullet is considered overfished, and the striped mullet fisheries management plan indicates that this reduction is necessary. Mr. Chair, this is all I have for fisheries, and be glad to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of these rule proposals? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move forward with land and water access with Darren Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So today I have 6 proposals for our Land and Water Access Division 2025-2026 annual rule cycle. We'll go through them by game land. So our first one will be on Cold Mountain game land. This proposal will prohibit target shooting on the Cold Mountain game land in Haywood County. As you know, we typically, if we have a shooting range within 30 to 50 miles of our game lands, we prohibit target shooting. And we have a shooting range on Cold Mountain already, the Wayne E. Smith Cold Mountain Shooting Range. And this has just been an oversight when we put that range in to not prohibit target shooting, and we're correcting that with this proposal. Our second proposal is on Goose Creek game land. We have added the Bates Bay River Tract in Pamlico County to the Goose Creek game land. And we will make that particular tract permit only for deer, bear, and turkey. This is about a 407 acre tract, so it's a small parcel. It has a lot of residential homes around it. That's why we're proposing to have those big game species as permit only to help reduce some of the potential conflict we may run into on those areas. Our third proposal is on Gull Rock game land. This proposal actually distinguishes our waterfowl impoundments on Gull Rock game land. We've added a new tract to that property. It's called the Willow Tract, or you've probably heard of it referred as a Spencer Bay Tract, which also has an impoundment. So our impoundment that we have on the Outfall Canal Tract, we're going to call, or is already called, the E. Merrill Edwards Loop Road impoundment. So we'll put that in rule, and then we'll add Willow Point impoundment that is located on the Willow Tract. We are going to allow hunting on the Willow Point impoundment by permit only. So this rule will do both those things, make those names clear for each impoundment and make Willow Point impoundment a permit only impoundment. Our fourth proposal is on Johns River game lands. And this proposal will limit the use of bicycles to designated trails only on Johns River game land in Burke County. This limitation will not apply to hunters that are engaged in the activity of hunting during our open hunting days and seasons. The reason we're doing this is because we're seeing a lot of increased activity on that particular game land with bicycle users using our closed roads and various other access points. And we have a lot of permit hunts there, a lot of blinds for our disabled hunters, for our youth hunters, and we're seeing some conflict on those particular hunts and on that game land. And we're hoping to reduce conflict by controlling some of this bicycling, not on designated trails. Our fifth proposal is on Lantern Acres game land. This proposal will restrict access to the Lantern Acres game land posted waterfowl impoundment to permit hunters only. And part of this is because our impoundment already had that you already had to have a permit to waterfowl hunt there, but we're seeing other types of hunting coming into that impoundment, like snipe hunting and woodcock hunting, that's impacting those waterfowl on those impoundments and those hunts. And so this rule will make it so that anyone hunting in that impoundment area will have to have a permit. So we could potentially offer permit hunts for woodcock and snipe if we want to allow those, but it will require a permit to utilize those waterfowl impoundments during the seasons. And our last proposal is on Little Fork State Forest game land. And this proposal will expand the season on Little Fork State Forest game land from 3 days per week to 6 days per week. And this is a proposal brought to us by the North Carolina Forest Service. Want to expand the hunting opportunities on this property, since a part of this property was turned into the Rendezvous Mountain Educational State Forest. Thought this would help provide more opportunity. And with that, those are the 6 proposals for the Land and Water Access Division. Mr. Chairman, and I'll take any questions or comments at this time.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts for Darren?
Mr. Chairman, Steve Wyndham.
Yes, sir.
Wes, do we, or Darren, do we have a mechanism in place for the snipe and the woodcock permits currently?
You broke up a little bit there. Are you saying, do we have a permit in place for woodcock hunting?
Now, do we, on the new game land that we were using, people were sniping woodcock hunting and we're changing it to permit only. Do we have a mechanism in place for them to get a permit currently for woodcock and snipe hunting, as well as a permit for duck hunting?
So currently, the impoundment requires a permit to waterfowl hunt. So we had those in place. And our woodcock and snipe hunters were just coming in on off days and even sometimes permit days and sniping woodcock hunting. So this rule will require us moving forward we'd have to issue them a permit for them to come out and woodcock and snipe hunt. So it would set it up to where if we want to allow those activities, it would just be by permit only. So we could set it for opposite days if we want to, or later in the season or early in the season if we want to. It gives us more options.
So we don't have any, we haven't made a decision on whether or not we're going to grant those permits for snipe and woodcock hunting on opposite days, early season or late season as of this point.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, I think we ought to address that at some point.
Okay, and I think not so much in rules, but probably either in small game or, yeah, probably in small game, I guess. Is where mostly those seasons and limits are discussed, not so much in rules, but we can certainly, they basically overlap. I don't disagree with that, but yeah, I think that's a good point. We just need to be discussed further at some point.
Yes,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman.
That's correct. The rule would then allow us to open up those opportunities however we see fit.
Yeah, and I guess, Steve, the point of that is, some guys are in there duck hunting, all of a sudden guys are showing up snipe hunting and screwing up their hunt. And they've applied for a permit, and these the snipe and woodcock hunters don't have a permit, and that's creating some friction. So I get it. I see where the conflict is, and I think it's just a matter of us deciding if we keep the duck season and the days that we have allotted for it, and then work around that on the snipe and woodcock days when they're off, it would seem to solve the problem. However, there might be some gaps in there. You don't want somebody banging away around that impoundment every day of the season. That really hurts your duck hunting, I would think. But that's the things we just need to discuss that in a committee meeting, I think, on the small game hunting side. Is that right, Darren? Is a woodcock and snipe in the small game division?
Yes, it would either be small game or migratory bird. That's what Brad Howard says.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not sure I'm not sure which one either, but it's one of them. But we need to just put that on the agenda for that Wednesday committee meeting before the June commission meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you for bringing it up. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, thank you, Darren. All right, so we'll move on to wildlife management and Brad Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wildlife Management has 3 proposals, two of which the commissioners saw at the CALS meeting, and 1 new proposal based on those meetings in Wilmington. The first proposal deals with fur bearers, and it addresses the definitions in the fur bearer rule and the attendance and tagging of traps. The description of this change is to establish a definition and rule for a submersion trapping system, which is already a legal trapping system. It just doesn't have a definition and rule, and to apply the 72-hour trap attendance requirement to legal trap type set as submersion trapping systems. The difference between the fully submerged conibear trap type and submersive trapping systems is basically the type of trap that is used and how the trap is set. and the proposed 72-hour trap check for submersion trapping systems is consistent with the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies' best management practices for trapping. This was, let me flip it. The next change also addresses fur bearers, and this is a change to the reporting requirements for licensed fur dealers from monthly to annually. Several reasons for making that change. First, it makes reporting consistent with our other licenses and permit requirements that are based on the July 1 to June 30th license period. Most fur dealers really only purchase fur 4 to 5 months out of the year. Current rules require monthly reporting, even on months when no furs are purchased. And we actually compile the data annually anyway, monthly. So monthly reporting is not needed for the appropriate management of the fur bearer populations. You want to ask questions about either one of those two before I go to the next one, Mr. Chairman?
Anybody got any questions or thoughts? All right, go ahead, Brad.
Thank you. Now, this proposal is based on discussions and conversations had, of course, at our meetings, at our last commission meeting in Wilmington, and also based on the conclusion of our wild turkey ecology study, and staff was asked to return to the Rules Commission or the Rules Committee meeting today with a recommendation for turkey seasons. The description of this particular change shifts the turkey season 1 week later than the current framework to move the timing of harvest into agreement with the statewide turkey breeding and nesting chronology dates. The staff's recommendation for the shift is to change the opening day of regular turkey season from the second Saturday in April to the 3rd, with no change in this regular season length, and change the opening of youth season from the first Saturday in April to the 2nd. Staff also recommends reducing the youth season from 7 days to 2. In other words, going to the weekend prior to opening day, the Saturday and Sunday.
Hospital.
Next slide. Next slide. A lot of justification. We've had a number of conversations about the turkey seasons and the results from the study. Our hunting season should be set to ensure turkeys have adequate time for breeding and nesting before substantial harvest occurs. And while the statewide turkey harvest is currently at record levels, the recent wild turkey ecology study documented low nesting success, poor brood survival, and low overall productivity across all regions of the state. The study also identified for us the average dates that hens initiate egg laying, which is April the 11th, and the start of incubation of those nests, which is April the 24th. And these dates are consistent across the state. Numerous other research projects suggest minimizing harvest prior to the onset of egg laying. So this proposal ensures that no more than 2 days of hunting, and that would be during the youth season, occur before peak initial egg laying in North Carolina, which is on April the 11th. And since the length of the regular season would remain unchanged and most of the youth harvest only occurs during the first 2 days of the youth season, this proposal change is expected to result in only minimal changes to total harvest, but will have significant impacts on harvest prior to the onset of egg laying.
Okay, hey, Brad, does that conclude your presentation on this particular issue?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'd like to open it up and kind of go straight to Commissioner Wyndham. Do you have any thoughts on this, Steve?
Wes, I think everybody on this committee and all the staff certainly knows my infatuation with turkeys. 20 years ago, I would have told Brad he was totally off base on what he's doing.
Seems
But
like I remember that.
what staff has put together makes as much sense to me as a turkey hunter as anything I've ever seen. We're not changing harvest limits. We're moving the season back to ensure that the turkeys have a chance to lay eggs, breed and lay eggs. I'm 100% in favor of this.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts at this point? Okay, all right. Thank you. Having none, continue on, Brad.
I don't know, whose slide is this? This is Melva's? Yes, sir. I think this goes to Melva, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, are you through, Brad?
I am through with the wildlife proposals as of now.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. And then we'll move on to Melba.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, we would like to provide an update and a plan for the remaining 2018-2024 periodic review list. We have 3 rules remaining, which includes 10J0103, hunting on wildlife conservation areas, 10J0104, fishing on wildlife conservation areas, 10G0501, licensee requirements. The commission must readopt these rules by December 31st. At the July commission meeting, we will request approval to notice the proposed rules. The comment period will span from September 3rd to December 4th. At the December commission meeting, we will request the readoption of these rules. It is anticipated that the Rules Review Commission will approve these rules on January 29th, 2025. And it is anticipated that these rules will be entered into the North Carolina Administrative Code on February 1st, 2025. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Melba. Does anybody have any questions of her as well on any of these? Okay, hearing none. I think the last issue that's really not on your agenda, one of the things that we've become aware of is the age of our youth for youth hunts. And I don't know anybody's quite sure. I'm not sure how somehow or another a youth turkey hunt, there's not an age designated in rule right now for what's considered to be youth. My recollection is there was one, or there was either the assumption of one, but somehow or another it is not immortalized in writing or rule someplace. So we're going to need to deal with that. One of the other things too that for some of you that have been on here a long time, and those of you that have taken either your children or grandchildren, you're aware that for many years you did not need a license, an individual license until you were age 16. The Fish and Wildlife Service changed that, I think primarily on duck hunting a number of years ago, and moved it to 18. And there was some discussions that probably Commissioner Wyndham, Hoyle, and possibly Coley remember. We had some long discussions many years ago about that as well. Do we keep it at 16 or move everything to 18? It doesn't seem wise to have some seasons at 16, some seasons at 18, and it's just something that's confusing to the general public. So we've talked about that, and I don't know that we need to decide that today, even though we've got a large number of people and commissioners on this call today. We kind of thought it out, and I spoke with Director Ingram yesterday about this, and we thought it would be a good idea to get a lot of input, have an opportunity for everyone to have an input on this, as whether we want to try to move everything to 18 or keep some at 16, or what the importance of continuity of a single age class for everybody. And that, pretty much would be trout, deer, migratory birds, turkeys, and anything else along that line. So what we're going to do is just make you aware of it today, and that we're going to have there will be a committee meeting for us to talk about this issue. I've talked to Carrie Ruhlman, who is our coordinator, and she is prepared for whatever decision we make on the Wednesday before the commission meeting on Thursday in June, that she will have something written up for us that after that committee meeting on Wednesday, so we can present to the full commission on Thursday for whatever rule change or modification that will come out of that committee meeting. So I just want to give everybody a heads up on that. And I know Carrie is on the call, as well as Director Ingram is on the call. Do either one of y'all have any comments or thoughts that you'd like to add to that?
Mr. Chairman, this is Cam Ingram. If y'all can hear me, I think that you hit it and explained it very well. We will be prepared, as you've noted, in June to bring some rule language for y'all's consideration. And that's where we, as you also have noted, we will seek consistency and clarification, and then leave it to the board to decide on whether it's under the age of 18 or under the age of 16, as we refer to youth in turkeys, deer, our game lands access, and trout, and any other places staff can find that is addressed in our rules in its totality.
Okay, thank you, Cam. Does anybody else?
Yeah,
Yes,
this is
I'm
Dave.
sorry. Sure.
So will this be in the committee of the whole in June? Where will we discuss this in June?
I think we'll probably have it just as a separate agenda item, just so we just don't get tangled up in the committee of the whole. Now I'm gonna leave that up to the chairman if he would rather, whichever way he would rather do it. I'm good with it either way. I'm sure the discussion and the thoughts will be exactly the same. It's just a matter of process at this point of however the chairman would like it done. We're fine with it, whatever he wants to do.
Okay.
Okay, Chairman Crump, you got any thoughts on that?
No, sir, you covered it well. I think we got a decision to make. I do think in the discussions we've had with the commissioners in the last couple of days since we realized that this was not uniform across the species that we have hunting seasons, is it needs to be either be one way or the other across the board, either under 18 or under 16. And that's something that we'll get a staff proposal on and we'll discuss, as you noted, that Wednesday meeting, and get the commission to make a final decision.
Okay, sounds good. That's really all of our agenda items, as well as this one additional item. Does anybody else have any other thoughts? Carrie, actually, I don't think I see your name on the list, but if you're there, do you have any thoughts or anything that you'd like to add before we get away?
Nope, I think we covered everything today. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and conclude the meeting. We can stop the recording, and nobody has to sign off just yet. So we will conclude the meeting and thank everybody for participation, and we will cease the recording at this time.